This video is still not sponsored by anybody. And no, this is not an opening to get more likes. I haven't reached that threshold yet where I need your help to get me to 5,000 subscribers. But if you do want to do that, as always, like, subscribe below. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. This is an announcement to let you know that for the last couple of months, pretty much near the beginning of the year, I started putting clipless versions of all the Time About the Movies episodes together over on the Reviewing Network Live channel. And I am very happy to report that every episode, up until the one from yesterday, is uploaded and ready to go. Like, every episode, from the first episode I did from the week I was born to November of 2005, all of them are now available in a clipless version package. So if you want to watch those episodes without me showing the clips or anything, and you just want to see the reviews, I'll leave a link to it in the description down below. And you can also find them all on the Reviewing Network Live channel as well. Hit the like button, subscribe button, and notification button on this channel and the Reviewing Network Live channel so you can get updates on when we post there. We post on both channels every day. But also, as I'm saying this, I am now here to tell you that you can still watch the regular versions with the clips on this channel, but you can also watch the clipless versions of each new episode over on the Reviewing Network Live channel as well. So if you want to see over 860 episodes that I've already done from the time I was born to the current time I'm at right now, like I said, descriptions down below, links down below. So just wanted to give you an update on that front. But with all that said, on with the show. It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the two movies of December 2nd, 2005. And as I said before, usually post-Thanksgiving weekend does not always put out the big movies that the studios are very proud of. This is kind of like a dumping weekend before we get to the big holiday releases in general that we're going to take up much of the Christmas season. And we have one big new movie that was probably meant for much bigger pastures, but unfortunately the studio messed around with it and it turned out a bad product, and so we have it now on this weekend. And we have an Oscar contender to look at too. But let's take a look at that first movie I was talking about. We have Charlize Theron in the feature film adaptation of Peter Chung's classic MTV series, Aeon Flux.
She was the government's top agent until they betrayed her and left her for dead on December 2nd. Vengeance is coming.
Good boys.
Charlize Theron is.
She's coming. Amateurs.
Aeon Flux.
I'll keep off the grass.
Rated PG-13. Starts December 2nd.
The honestly sad thing about this movie is that you see the potential that's there. I mean, if you ever saw the Aeon Flux television series from back in the day, I mean, this was a show that was so stylistically cool, visually pleasing to look at, had great animation. This was Peter Chung, who did a lot of work for Klasky Csupo, most notably early stuff for the Rugrats before he went over to MTV to work on this show. I mean, he has such a unique style to him, and you can tell that the movie is trying to have that, but, you know, it just can't handle it because, you know, it's a lot of studio interference taking part in this whole movie in general. And I mean, Charlize Theron isn't a bad choice for Aeon Flux either. I mean, she fits the part pretty well here, and I thought that was one of the things that would probably save the movie in general because she's putting her all into this performance. But as the movie will show, yeah, visuals don't always make the movie, as I always say. But 400 years into the future, set in the year 2415, Aeon Flux is a mysterious assassin 4 centuries after a virus nearly annihilated the human race, leaving only 5 million survivors in a utopian city called Bregna. Aeon is struggling to destroy the Goodchild regime led by its namesake, Trevor Goodchild, played by Martin Sakakis, the ruler of Bregna and a descendant of the man who found a cure for the deadly virus. As instructed by the handler, Aeon is assigned to assassinate Goodchild, but there are deeper secrets to be discovered and conspiracies to be foiled. So yeah, it definitely sounds like another movie that we'll eventually get to, Ultraviolet, which is pretty much kind of the same movie, except that one's even worse because, A, you have Mila Jovovich in there, and you know how I feel about her, but yeah, this movie really does not feel like Aeon Flux at all. And, you know, here's the thing, though. This is a movie that was heavily affected by studio interference. It's one of those type of films. You know, the director, Karen Kusama, who made Girl Fight, which is a really great movie with Michelle Rodriguez, you know, she said after she made the film, the studio took it away from her and heavily re-edited it. So right there's already a ton of problems because they changed storylines and characters. They thought her version was too much of an art film. for all we know, her version probably is one of the better versions, probably the best version of this movie in general. And, you know, supposedly the original director's cut had like 30 minutes of additional footage, which, you know, Peter Chung himself acknowledged in his criticism. He was the one that really badmouthed the movie in a big way. He was very optimistic about the film and the sets in general, but he ultimately called it a travesty in general. And you could kind of see why, because you could tell that there was at least an idea of what they wanted to do. But this just felt like a movie that Paramount just came in and said, we're taking this over. We know what we're doing. I mean, we're Paramount Pictures. We know quality when we see it. And, yeah. And the end result is a movie that was literally dumped. So when it bombed, everyone was just like, oh, we don't know what happened. I mean, we thought we had a hit, and we decided to just dump it out in between the weekends between, you know, Thanksgiving and the weekend before Chronicles of Narnia comes out and King Kong, and oh no, like, what, we didn't know what the hell we were thinking. Yeah, you did. You knew it was a bad movie because you're too stubborn to realize that you took away something that probably would have been a whole lot better. In fact, I'm willing to guarantee is a whole lot better than whatever the hell this was trying to be. And like I said, it's a shame because the casting looks pretty good. The action sequences look pretty good. The visuals kind of help give this movie a look of something interesting and different, but the finished product just really is a film that was just a mess on all different types of levels, and it was mostly because of the studio. I'm willing to believe that the original version that they had was probably the much better movie that they were hoping to go with here, but I don't know if we'll ever see that version. I'm pretty sure it's not. I mean, it could be out there somewhere, but heaven forbid if Paramount actually bothers to even put it out. But yeah, this was a major disappointment. It was a movie that I was really looking forward to it just because I like the style of the animated series, and I like Charlize Theron a lot. I like this director a lot, but finally seeing it, it's just like, yeah, you guys screwed the pooch big time on this one. So yeah, unfortunately, it's a bad call on Aeon Flux. So let's go ahead and move on to the other movie that we have this weekend, and that is Transamerica.
IFC Films present.
Get in here before the neighbors see you.
I thought you said your parents were dead.
Wishful thinking.
Your mother and I both love you.
But we don't respect you.
A story of two people and the one secret that has kept them apart for 17 years.
She is not my mother. She's not even a real woman.
Just because a person doesn't go around blabbing her entire biological history doesn't make her a liar.
Hey, look.
You boys go ahead.
Come on.
Again, another one of those movies that has a topic of discussion that's still very much relatable even in today's world. The screenplay is actually inspired by conversations between this director, Duncan Tunker, and his then roommate, Catherine Canella, and tells the story of Bree, played by Felicity Huffman, who's a trans woman who goes on a road trip with her long-lost son, Toby, played by Kevin Zegers. You also have Graham Greene, Finola Flanagan, Burt Young, Carrie Preston, Elizabeth Pena. This was another one of those early films by the Weinstein Company that was probably meant for Miramax, but then when Weinstein and Miramax split up, they took this over to their company in general. And like I said before with Breakfast on Pluto, this movie is definitely the better of the two movies. Is it a great movie? Not really. I mean, it's not a bad movie in general, and I do think Felicity Huffman's performance in this really does carry the film overall. The rest of the movie itself is kind of your typical Oscar baitish type of storyline. This is a movie that really is benefiting by the performance by Felicity Huffman. You know, back when Felicity Huffman was actually seen as an actress we really liked before we realized that she and Lori Loughlin were complete monsters. Okay, maybe not monsters, but they were part of that big nationwide college entrance exam cheating scandal. I mean, her and Lori Loughlin, that's another story altogether. But, of course, she was known for Desperate Housewives around this time. And, you know, like I said, she's really good in the movie. I don't think she should have won Best Actress overall. She was nominated, even though she does give a good enough performance that I could see why she was nominated in general. But it was just too good of a year. And, you know, Reese Witherspoon winning that category, you can definitely see why she won over her. And, yeah, the movie overall is a good movie. It's not a great movie in general, but it is a movie that I would say it's passable. And I think it's passable solely with the addition of Felicity Huffman just really giving it her all in this and seeing why she deserves all the praise for this, because she really is giving it her all in this movie, and she is playing a great character in this. And like I said, it's a very topical movie, you know, especially in today's world. But as far as the rest of the film itself goes, it's fine. But really what makes it go above and beyond is the performance by Felicity Huffman. I think that really is what does carry the film overall in the grander scheme of things. And yeah, so not much more to say about that one. Transamerica, good movie, not a great one.
Friday, Narnia arrives, and critics are hailing it as the most incredibly exciting blockbuster of 2005. Take them. It's truly spectacular, absolutely thrilling, and one of the year's best films. Hang on! 5 stars, a magnificent story destined to become a classic, and Ebert and Roper give it 2 thumbs up. Are you prepared for what awaits you? The Chronicles of Narnia, rated PG. See it Friday.
So this is, of course, based off the Chronicles of Narnia book series by C.S. Lewis, and something I didn't realize was that even though this was the first published entry in the series, it's actually the second chronological one in the series, so I never really knew that. But then again, I never really had an interest in the books anyway. I was just following these through the movies. But in this movie, you have 4 British children who evacuate during the Blitz during World War II to the countryside, and they find a wardrobe that leads to the fantasy world of Narnia, where they ally with the lion Aslan, voiced by Liam Neeson, and the force against the forces of the White Witch, is played by Tilda Swinton. And this was kind of Disney's answer to Lord of the Rings. You know, Lord of the Rings had just ended a couple of years ago, and everyone was looking for the next big fantasy film franchise, and Disney was hoping that this was going to be it, and needless to say, it worked out much better than they could have possibly imagined, because this took off big time. It was a massive hit at the box office. You know, it upstaged Peter Jackson's follow-up to the Lord of the Rings films that came out the week later, which, I don't know, I think it's still a lot better than most people let on, but this was a pretty big deal when it came out. I mean, nobody was really expecting this to become the big hit that it did, and it essentially opened the floodgates for other studios to say, well, shit, if Disney has their Lord of the Rings, we need to have our Lord of the Rings too, and it just led to countless attempts to try to create another Lord of the Rings that just didn't work out as well as they wanted to, like the Golden Compass, Aragon, The Seeker, The Darkest Rising. Like, we're going to get to a bunch of them in the years to come, but as far as this one goes, it's a pretty good movie. It's a really well-made film, visually stunning to look at, directed by the same guy who did Shrek, Andrew Adamson, making his live-action feature film debut, and it really does work very well. It's a very impressive-looking film. Visually, it looks gorgeous. Storytelling-wise, it does a very good job of telling the story, and getting you invested in the fight that's going on between the situations that they have in the film. I think the actors as a whole are given the parts very well. The 4 kids are playing the parts very well. There's a lot of magical aspects to the movie in general. It's just a really, really good movie, man. It's just a really fun, engaging action, family adventure film that fits right in the fantasy realm. And yeah, it's a really good film in general. In fact, all the movies in the Chronicles of Narnia series, for the most part, are pretty good. The 3 that we've had that were in theaters, I don't think I've ever seen one that's really terrible. I think the worst one is Voyage of the Dawn Treader, but even then, there's still a lot there to like about that movie in general, but this one I think is still the strongest of the bunch. Tilda Swinton, I think, plays a good villain in this as the White Witch. Liam Neeson, that voice he has, that distinctive voice coming out of this lion, is just pitch perfect, man. It just works on so many levels. Not much more to say, man. This is a really, really good movie. I can really see why a lot of people took to it. It's definitely worth a watch. I highly recommend it. Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So, with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Rob Marshall's follow-up to Chicago, Memoirs of a Geisha.
Your family sold you to this house.
We do not become geishas to pursue our own destiny.
I want a life that is mine.
Memoirs of a Geisha, rated PG-13, in select cities tomorrow.
So in this movie, you have Zhang Ziyi from Hero in Rush Hour 2 as a young Japanese girl, Chiyo Sakamoto, who is sold by her impoverished family to a geisha house called an Okoya. I'm probably going to butcher these pronunciations here, but bear with me. Kiyo is eventually transformed into a geisha and renamed Sayori, and becomes one of the most celebrated geishas of her time. But with that success, Sayori also learns the secrets and sacrifices of the geisha lifestyle. This is a movie I probably should like because it has a lot of good talent involved in here. You got, like I said, Zhang Ziyi from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Hero, Rush Hour 2. A great director in Rob Marshall coming out of Chicago. It's got this incredible visual look to it. You think you can go no wrong with it, but unfortunately, the rest of the film really is not that great in general. It's a shame because there is a lot to admire about the movie. I think the cast overall holds it together very well. I think they do a good job playing these roles. They despite the material given to them. The direction is nice. The music by John Williams is very good. And again, beautiful visuals all the way through. Where the film really falls apart, though, is with a problem with a lot of these movies, style over substance. The movie can look great, but the story is not. It plays a lot like a melodramatic soap opera. The main story really has nothing interesting or exciting to offer or to make it stand out on its own. It's a film that's a perfect example of, as I said, a style over substance storyline where the visuals stand out more than the actual story does. And there's definitely a lot of ways Members of a Geisha could have worked. You have a great cast, a good director, a really great visual flair, but you don't have the good story to work with. It really does hurt the film in the long run. You can't rely simply on visuals just to make us forget the lack of a good story and expect us to go along for the ride. I mean, the Avatar movies barely get by on that front, and even the last movie wasn't all that great in general, but you got to give us a good story to work here, guys. But just here we don't get it, and what we do get is a nice-looking, well-acted, well-directed misfire. And I think, honestly, that's the best way to describe the film in general. So, yeah. Not much more to say about Members of a Geisha. But let's get to probably the most well-known movie that came out this weekend, and that is, of course, Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger in Brokeback Mountain.
Millions of moviegoers have been touched. Thousands of stories have been shared, and cinematic history is unfolding before us. Brokeback Mountain has connected with the heart of America, and now it's the most Oscar-nominated film of the year. Best Actor Heath Ledger, Best Supporting Actor Jake Gyllenhaal, Best Screenplay, Best Director Ang Lee, and Best Picture of the Year. Brokeback Mountain, rated R.
So we kind of touched on this controversy with this back when Crash came out, but the film stars Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal as two American cowboys, Ines Del Mar and Jack Twist, who end up getting into a romantic relationship. It's essentially a gay cowboy movie. You know how South Park did that episode of the film festival, and they always talk about how, the movies that they show there are nothing but two gay cowboys eating pudding. It feels like it's that type of movie, but unlike those movies, this actually does feel like a legitimately well-made film in general. I mean, this is a really good movie, and remember when I said with Get Rich or Die Trying, I would kind of stretch the truth about the movies I saw back in high school and try to make reviews off of them? Yeah, this was another one of those ones that I didn't get to see. I didn't see in theaters, even though I told people I was going to go see it. I was going to talk about it on the show, but it was kind of hard to touch on a movie like this because of obvious reasons. You know, you're in high school, you only have certain limitations of what you can say about what you could say in general here, and I was going to do an episode overall back then, but I never ended up making the episode. It's one of those ones where I had the script ready to go, but I just never got around to filming it. I just waited for the movie to come out and go, and then go from there, and then just never really did a review for it back then. So I didn't really get to see this one until pretty much when it came out on DVD. And I can definitely see why it has the lasting impact it has, because it is a very good movie with two very solid actors. You buy into their relationship that they have in the movie here. You also have two great performances by Anne Hathaway and Michelle Williams as their wives. Their relationship in this is so well done. The relationships with their love lives, not just the love lives from the cowboys in this, but also the love lives with their wives are just so well done. You can see why this movie became the masterpiece that everyone says it is. But of course, let's talk about the controversy here, because as I mentioned before with Crash, this Crash won Best Picture over this movie to the point where even Jack Nicholson on Oscar night was so shocked that this movie lost, because a lot of people really were expecting Brokeback Mountain to win Best Picture that night, and then you see Jack Nicholson open the envelope, and even he was looking at the envelope like, really? And he said, and the winner is Crash. And it's just like, and yeah, it received controversy because of subsequent censorship from Focus Features, criticisms from conservative media outlets. The sexuality of the main characters has been subject to discussion, but it was really a major turning point for gay cinema into the mainstream, because at this point it was mostly relegated to indie stuff. We had a couple movies here and there that tried to be more mainstream, but didn't match up to the success that they could have back then. But this was the first one that really broke the mold. This is the one that really opened the door for many other movies with a gay sub main plot overall to really take shape. And sure enough, as time went on, these movies have become more and more appreciated, especially at the Academy Awards, especially the year when movies like Moonlight won Best Picture over La La Land. certain films like that, and just Brokeback Mountain was the first movie to really open the door for that. And for Ang Lee, he needed this after what happened with Hulk, the last movie he directed. But yeah, Ang Lee was very desperate to get a hit after Hulk crashed and burned. Everyone thought his career was pretty much over and done with. But most notably, the biggest thing that this movie really did was, open the door to mainstream cinema being more centered around gay people. I'm looking at the list right here of there's a list on Wikipedia of LGBT Academy Award winners and nominations. I got to the point where it says Best Picture winners and nominees with LGBTQ themes. I just want you to see something here. Take a look at this. Look at how many movies there are before Brokeback Mountain with a relevancy of gay, transgender, bisexual, lesbian. It's about only 8 movies in general, but then look at the list after Brokeback Mountain, and Capote too. Both of them were kind of big and came out around the same time. Look at how bigger the list gets as you go back and back and back. Like that's impressive of what this movie, and as well as Capote, and even Trans at the same time, pretty much did in general here. And it's really, really impressive of what this movie was able to accomplish and open the door for so many movies going forward. And it just really opened your eyes. I think it really opened a lot of Hollywood's eyes to what the future of Hollywood was going to be like, what the future of the Academy Awards was going to be like in general here. Although I do think it's kind of interesting that since then only 2 movies with that theme have won Best Picture, and that was Moonlight, of course, and also Everything Everywhere All at Once. But yeah, this is a really good movie. It's a really well-made film. It's an engaging love story, but unusual for some people, between 2 great actors. Of course, Heath Ledger left our world too soon. This was probably his magnum opus as an actor as a whole before he eventually finished off his career with The Joker. Another great performance by him, which ended up winning him an Academy Award. But just an incredible movie all the way through. I can't recommend it enough. It's definitely worth it. See it, Brokeback Mountain. Definitely a reason why that movie has a lasting impact. One of the best movies of the year, no question about it. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here, and that is Judi Dench and Bob Hoskins in Mrs. Henderson Presents.
Lucky woman.
As long as the windmill exists, we shall come through.
Academy Award winner Judi Dench. You're a very irritating woman. Academy Award nominee Bob Hoskins.
You're a very irritating man.
Come on. Mrs. Henderson Presents.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those period pieces where you have people that literally go like, most unorthodox. Like, as soon as I cut that, there's one scene in particular that does literally feel like somebody would say most unorthodox. But in this movie, you have Judi Dench playing Laura Henderson, who's an eccentric British socialite who opens the Windmill Theatre in London in 1931. Bob Hoskins is also in here as well. Pretty good too, and pretty unrecognizable at first. Because, they actually give him hair in the back this time around. Like, they actually give him... Because I'm used to seeing him without the hair and all that. But you also have Kelly Riley, Christopher Guest, directed by Stephen Frears, who the following year would have probably his biggest success to that point with The Queen in recent years, not more of his recent movies in general. But this was another one of the early Weinstein Company releases. And it's a fun little one in general. Nothing too spectacular, nothing too amazing, nothing too groundbreaking, but... overall, a really good movie, benefited by the great performances by Dench and Hoskins. It's a really good. It is a really good movie. It can be very funny at times. It can be very serious. It actually is a musical too. It has some interesting musical numbers here and there. But yeah, it's a really good movie. It's a really fun film in general. One I was actually kind of surprised I really enjoyed. So I can't recommend it enough. Definitely check it out. Mrs. Henderson Presents.
Looked upon the face of beauty, and beauty stayed his hand. And from that day forward, he was as one dead.
We shouldn't be here.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you time! was going to be you.
King Kong. This film is not yet rated. In theaters Wednesday, December 14.
So yeah, this is Peter Jackson's follow-up. Of course, this is based off the classic movie King Kong of the same name, which has been remade several times. Of course, you have the original 1933 version, and then you have the 76 version with Jeff Bridges and Charles Grodin among the cast, along with Jessica Lange, which I finally got to see in the last year, and pretty good modernized retelling of King Kong in general. And then you have this one here, which is kind of interesting of how this one ended up being seen by people in general. But in the story here, of course, you really need to know what the story is, but just a refresher of what the story is. Set in 1933, it follows the story of an ambitious filmmaker played by Jack Black, who coerces his cast and hired ship crew to travel to the mysterious Skull Island. There they encounter prehistoric creatures and a legendary giant gorilla known as Kong, played by motion capture through Andy Serkis, whom they capture and take to New York City. And of course, you know the rest of the story here. And you're going to learn a lot more about the story here, because this is a very, very long movie, which is indeed one of the big flaws with the movie, is that it's way too long. Like, I think this movie's close to like 3 hours long. 192 minutes. Actually, it's more than that. 61. Yeah, over 3 hours. 3 hours and 12 minutes long. That kind of turned people away, in particular, to this movie in general. But the movie was actually received well by critics. It actually did appear in several top 10 lists for the year. And it was a hit, but honestly, I think a lot of people didn't expect the Chronicles of Narnia to surpass King Kong in general. Like, everyone thought, this is directed by the guy who made the Lord of the Rings trilogy. This is the guy who makes quality films. Everybody's expecting this to be the big hit. And it was a big hit, but it wasn't the big Christmas runaway hit that people were expecting it to be, mostly because, Chronicles of Narnia came and kind of took away a lot of its mojo in general. And this one kind of has been largely forgotten for the most part until many years down the road, where it did get a little bit of a reappraisal over the years. And of course, when we think of King Kong now, we think of what Warner Brothers has been doing with Godzilla and Kong, which are great movies on their own merits as well. But I personally really like this one a lot. I really do like this movie in general. The biggest flaw with it is, of course, the runtime. And yeah, it does overstay its welcome very much. But other than that, though, the stuff that they do have in here, I think works really well to the film's advantage. I like Andy Serkis' portrayal of King Kong. Like, you do get a real sense of what this character, through what Serkis does in this performance. I think Naomi Watts does a great job as Ann Darling. Jack Black is very good as Carl Denham. Jack Driscoll, Adrian Brody's character, I think is very good. Got a really good cast in general here. The look of the film is really cool to look at. Like, you feel like you're on this abandoned island throughout most of the film. I mean, you got a lot of good people in the cast here. I forgot to mention Kyle Chandler. This was the first time I ever saw him in anything. And of course, the following year, everyone will remember him for Friday Night Lights. But then again, he was also an early edition in the 90s, a show I do remember, but I never watched it. I just remember that show existed. But overall, this is a really good movie. I really do like this film a lot. I think there is a lot there to admire about it. I think there is a lot of ambition that went into this. Like, you could tell Peter Jackson put his all into this movie, and it shows on screen. The visual look of the film is impressive to look at. They're capturing that feel of the 30s through the effects of what a digital. I mean, King Kong looks pretty badass. I mean, the movie is just downright incredible. And it's a shame that the film didn't get the proper respect it deserved back then, because it is a really good movie in general. And it certainly is a better film than some of the worst King Kong movies. I mean, King Kong Lives. Like, that movie from the 80s is just absolutely horrible, but then again, didn't have the studio behind it. It was produced by a very independent company. Then that film came out, and then completely got abandoned because simply it was a bad movie. But this is a really good movie. I really like this one a lot. I definitely want to see this movie get a little bit more of a reappraisal over the years. I think it has, because of what's been going on over at Universal Studios with the Skull Island Reign of Kong and King Kong 360 over in Universal Studios Hollywood. I think that's helped to give it kind of a little bit of a resurgence, but it's still a really good movie, man. I really like this one a lot. Can't recommend it enough. King Kong, really, really good movie. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie that we have here. A much smaller movie than King Kong, needless to say, but really good one. This is The Family Stone.
You don't have to be nervous.
I'm not.
They're gonna love you. There's nothing harder than joining a family.
He intends to give that girl my mother's wedding ring.
Especially one like the Stones.
She's got this throat-clearing tick. It's like she's digging for clams.
Ready? Yeah, they're all watching, you know.
They have a funny way of making you feel at home.
Hello. You have a lovely home.
All the better to entertain you, my dear.
Don't dilly-dally there, pretty lady. We're all gonna be down here talking about you.
She is completely uptight.
I am not sleeping with you in your bed in your parents' house.
Separate bedrooms. It's so silly.
Are Everett and Meredith going to get married? 4 words?
Second word. Beekeeper.
Ring.
Bride.
Always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
They hate me. They hate me.
They just met you. I just figured you'd give her a hard time, have a good laugh, but then back off. Meredith's checking in at the end. And now her sister Julie's giving up Christmas with her entire family in order to be with Meredith.
I'm ashamed of all of you. Even you.
Hi.
Hey. Hi.
This holiday season,
He's gonna ask me for that ring.
Mom, enough about the ring.
from the producer of Sideways.
You have a freak flag. You just don't fly it.
Uh-oh.
We will try to behave like a civilized family.
I don't care whether you like me or not.
Oh, of course you do.
Claire Danes, Diane Keaton, Rachel McAdams, Dermot Mulroney, Craig T. Nelson, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Luke Wilson. The Family Stone.
What's so great about you guys? Nothing. It's just that we're all we've got.
And you're the worst. I'm the worst.
Oh, boy.
Believe it or not, this is actually one of those movies that started a weird trend of, like, family-centered Christmas movies that we've been getting, family-centered holiday movies that came out over the course of the next couple of years. I mean, we talk about, stuff like This Christmas, Dan in Real Life, what's another one? Nothing Like the Holidays. There's a couple of other ones, too, but those are the three main ones I do remember here from around this time period. But this is the one that kind of started that trend in general, and you can kind of see why. It was kind of a surprise hit when it came out, and it's an overall really enjoyable movie. You have the Christmas holiday misadventures of the Stone family in a small New England town where the eldest son, played by Dermot Mulroney, brings his uptight girlfriend, played by Sarah Jessica Parker, home with the intentions of proposing to her with a cherished heirloom ring. Overwhelmed by the hostile reception, she begs her sister, played by Claire Danes, to join her for emotional support, which triggers further complications. And I think you can kind of figure out what those complications are going to be just by looking at that trailer there. But you have a cast that includes Diane Keaton, Craig T. Nelson, Luke Wilson, Rachel McAdams, Rachel McAdams in this movie is absolutely incredible. This is a big year for her in general, to show everybody that she's here and she's going to take over. And this movie just really, not just for a performance that's just so very fun, that's very funny and feels very relatable, but when this movie needs to get dramatic and involve scenes with her, she just sells it, man. Like, there's a reason why she's really taken off in the years since Mean Girls came out. This was a year that really showed what this woman can do, and she really is the standout of the film. I think she really is the best thing about the film in general. Everybody in this movie is really good. Like, I like everybody in the family. They have this really good storyline with Diane Keaton in this movie that plays a huge emotional part of the storyline. Craig T. Nelson as the father is really good in here. Luke Wilson is very good too. I like the chemistry that he has with Sarah Jessica Parker. Claire Danes' addition in here is really nice too. I like what she brings to the table with Dermot Mulroney, which coincidentally, I remember right, Claire Danes was in Home for the Holidays too, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, she was in Home for the Holidays in a very, very similar type of film in this, and it's a really good movie, man. Like, I think it's a really well-made film. The only real nitpicky thing I have with it is that the tonal shifts do feel like they're kind of rushing things. Like, those scenes in the trailer, like, you see them being very fun. There's scenes in the trailer, like this scene where, like, they slip on the what was it called? What was it? what was it, like the potato salad or something, and like it's very funny, and then all of a sudden it cuts to a very serious scene, like the scene where Rachel McAdams is just like, Sarah Jessica Parker's just like, I don't care whether you like me or not, and Rachel McAdams is just like, well, of course you do. Immediately after this, Sarah Jessica Parker's like, fuck this shit, I'm leaving, and just starts driving away. And yeah, the tonal shifts can be a little iffy at times and move way too fast, and there are a lot of stereotypical tropes that you see in stories like this in general. I don't even want to say stereotypical tropes, but cliche tropes, if you will. Stereotypes and cliches, very different things, but a lot of cliche tropes you see in a number of different movies like this, and yeah, it can be annoying a lot of times, but for the most part, the movie is still very consistently entertaining. It works because the performances are so good in here, and when it gets emotional, a lot of the emotional moments do work very well here. The comedy can work very well too. It's just those tonal shifts that randomly happen every once in a while that just really kind of get on you real quickly. And you can definitely see the feel. This is kind of like an indie film, kind of like what Sideways was like, because this is by the producer of Sideways, who's actually the director of this movie. I really like this one a lot. I think it's a very well-made film. Like I said, the only real nitpicky thing I have is the tonal shift changes that happens every once in a while, but for the most part, it's a really good movie, and one I definitely recommend checking out this holiday season. Really good film, The Family Stone. So let's go ahead and move on to the last one we have here. Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick reprising their roles from the Broadway version of The Producers for the movie remake of The Producers.
Let's assume for a moment that you are a dishonest man.
Assume away.
Under the right circumstances, a producer could make more money with a flop than he could with a hit.
You bloody little genius! I want everything I've ever seen in the movies! All we have to do is find the worst play ever written.
What is it? You found the flop?
Touch it. Kiss it. Kiss it. It's the mother lode.
Springtime for Hitler.
My play?
We want to put it on Broadway.
Broadway! I must tell my birds. He's gonna tell his birds. Bertha, Heidi, Wolfgang, Adolf. Haben Sie gehört, das deutsche Wort? Bitte bang, bitte boom, bitte bing, bang, bing, bang, boom. Kitchen!
From the twisted mind of Mel Brooks.
Bialystok in blue. Bialystok in blue.
Oh, smart as a whip.
We might have a position for you.
As a matter of fact, we might have several positions for you. I want you to know, my dear, that even though we're sitting down, we're giving you a standing ovation.
Max.
What?
This is it! Springtime for Hitler and Germany.
Nathan Lane.
Send me to the moon, you animal.
I love you!
Matthew Broderick.
Max, she's fantastic. I've never felt this way before.
Uma Thurman.
Remember when Ula danced?
Yeah.
Ula dance again!
God bless sweet.
And Will Ferrell.
Stand still! How can I shoot you if you keep moving? Ooh, you already had your toilet break.
I'm not going into the toilet. I'm going into show business.
The Producers.
So kind of like the original story of The Producers, you have a failing producer played by Nathan Lane and his accountant played by Matthew Broderick, who scam a group of elderly women out of their nest eggs by convincing them to invest in a horrendously offensive Third Reich-themed musical, secretly intended to bomb the moment it opens. But when highbrow Broadway audiences mistakenly assume Springtime for Hitler is a satire, Bialystok finds himself with the critical acclaim that has long eluded him and the biggest hit of his career. Of course, the original Producers is a classic movie with Gene Wilder and Zero Mostel. Of course, made by Mel Brooks. Really great film. But the Broadway musical version of this was really good, too. I remember seeing little bits and pieces of it. And it did kind of get me excited to see this movie done, especially with the people that they have involved in here. A phenomenal cast here. Nathan Lane, Matthew Broderick, Uma Thurman, Will Ferrell, Roger Bard, John Lovitz. There are a lot of the same type of problems that you would see in something like the movie version of Rent that we looked at not too long ago, where it does feel like it's not really made for a movie-going experience. It really does feel like a film at times it feels like you're watching the Broadway play in front of you, and that can really be a major flaw to the film in general, because there are scenes, you even see in the trailer there, that kind of feel like, yeah, I could see why people might be taken aback by this, because it does feel like you're watching something you could be literally watching on a Broadway stage. But there are times when the movie can get away from that, and I think there's a lot of fun aspects to it. Plus, I think Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane work off each other so well, and they've got a really strong cast in here. Will Ferrell, I think, is absolutely great in this. I think he's absolutely really funny. I think he's really good playing the guy who comes up with the play of Springtime for Hitler. Like, I really like his role in here, and it's a really fun concept in general. Does it do anything to outtake anything from the? What am I trying to say here? Does it do anything to surpass the original film? No, it's not. The original film will always stay true, and still be the funnier film of the two. But I think this movie definitely deserves a lot more attention than it actually gets, because it is a really, really funny film. If you like the Broadway musical version of this, the modern version of it, I think you could definitely get a lot of enjoyment out of this, seeing this being brought to the big screen. At least I thought it was, at least. But, yeah, I really liked it a lot. I think it's a very fun film. Definitely worth a watch. If you really go into it with the right mindset, you can have a good time with this movie in general. So, the producers.
In a small corner of suburban America, where everyone is just trying to fit in.
Morning, Joe. Got a new car? Check this out. Mercedes, yeah? Well, watch this. Beamer, sit. Play dead. I'd make it roll over, but it's part of the paint job.
One family.
I'll just remind him to be a little less vocal.
Is living the American dream.
Hey, Dick, place looks amazing. What's your secret?
You know, I wish I could tell you. It's very sensitive, very dangerous.
Want to grab a cup of coffee while we're in it?
Ice mocha sounds nice. A little differently.
2 ice mochas, let's go. Jeez, are you okay, hon?
I'm okay.
All right, nobody try to follow us, because we're desperate criminals. We're crazy people.
Thanks a lot. Fun with Dick and Jay.
Give me a minute. Garth? Dick? You, remember Jane?
Hi, Garth.
What's the matter with you? I got you.
So, Fun with Dick and Jane is essentially a remake of the 1977 film of the same name, this time with Jim Carrey and Taya Leone as a married middle-class couple who, after the husband's employer goes bankrupt, struggles to maintain jobs before eventually resorting to robberies. You have Alec Baldwin, Richard Jenkins among the cast in here, and you see in the trailer other people like John Michael Higgins. I've seen that guy in so many things. I should know who he is. John Michael Higgins is also in here. Angie Harmon, David Herman. You hear him in there. Stephanie Weir from Mad TV. Jason Marsden, Max from the Goofy movie. Clint Howard, Jeff Garlin, Laurie Metcalf, James Whitmore. I mean, there's a lot of. I think I said James Whitmore already, but there's a lot of people involved in this movie, and the movie kind of got a bad rap when it came out. It got mostly mixed reviews, but it did go on to become a very successful hit, over $204 million at the box office. This was actually Dean Parasot's first film after Galaxy Quest. I missed my mark there for a second, but Galaxy Quest, of course, was released on Christmas 6 years prior to this, but the film has gotten mostly a mixed reception when it came out in theaters, and nobody really ever talks about it since then, but honestly, there's stuff I like about this movie that I think makes it a watchable film. There are definitely a lot of flaws to it. I mean, really, the best thing about the movie in general is when they start committing the robberies, but unfortunately, it's not until more than halfway through the movie, and you got these really, really lazy, slapsticky bits of comedy that sometimes can be funny here and there, but they are very few and far between. Like, the real fun of the movie doesn't really start until they go ahead and start committing the robberies, and, you know, there's a lot of stuff that happens before this that works sometimes, but the real comedy doesn't begin until they actually go around and start doing the robberies and all, because that's when the movie really, really gets funny. The way they commit the robberies, you see it a little bit in the trailer there, you know, they're trying to be menacing, but they always run into obstacles, like running into their best friend, you know, when they're trying to rob him at the ATM, and, like, it's just like, hey, gotcha, and all that type of stuff, but really, the fun stuff doesn't come until the second half of the movie. About more than halfway into the second half of the movie, quite honestly. Like, that's when I think Jim Carrey and Téa Leoni really get a chance to show what they can do in terms of comedy. Especially Jim Carrey. Like, there's a great moment in the movie where, you know, he's finding out he's going to get indicted. So he goes into this bar, and he has, like, I think they say he has, like, one drink, not even a full drink, but a sip of drinks, but he's just, like, walking around acting drunk, talking about being a corporate puppet. I mean, this is a really, really funny moment.
I'm a corporate puppet. It's a long swing, so I can go on believing I'll be a real boy someday when I'm being manipulated by the bullshit.
Like, honestly, when you look at that, that's when you know that Jim Carrey is having a ball playing this character. And I don't know, it's just funny to hear Jim Carrey say something like, you know, I'm a corporate puppet, and just saying buy the bullshit the way he does. Like that's funny stuff. The way they give revenge on Alec Baldwin's character at the end of the movie is well done. You know, it's weird because this is a Judd Apatow and Nicholas Stoller's written script. These are the guys that would, of course, be behind some of the more notable comedies of this latter half of the decade, especially Nicholas Stoller, who did Forgetting Sarah Marshall later on. And really, it doesn't really feel like it's their type of a movie. It feels like more of a mainstream film because it is a mainstream film compared to what these guys will do later on their own merits. But yeah, like I said, the best stuff of this really doesn't happen until the second half of the movie. But it's enough for me to say that it's a good, fun movie. It's a film that I think has a lot of good moments, but you have to wait a little bit to really get to the good, fun stuff. But other than that, though, yeah, I'd say it's worthy enough. I don't know, it's for a decent watch on a Saturday afternoon. If you literally have nothing else to do, if there's nothing else to watch, this one's definitely worth a watch. I think it's very fun, but yeah, be prepared to sit through a lot of dry spots here and there. But once you get to the second half, that's where the real fun of Fun with Dick and Jane really is. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is Cheaper by the Dozen 2.
Deep in the heart of these woods, there is something stirring, something so wild. It is only a matter of time before it's unleashed.
Tire swing, not ready.
This Christmas.
Remember this place, Jess? It looks smaller. And why can't we rent that place?
Oh, well, that place is new. This place is
older.
All the bakers are back.
How do you actually bought that shirt?
Hey, every dad is entitled to one hideous shirt, one horrible sweater. It's part of the dad code.
And this time,
It's not going to fit in your Fiddler, Ray.
I'm gonna make it fit, Dad.
they're not alone.
Welcome to the Boulders.
Hi.
You hurt your dog. Oh.
Could you get that animal off my wife? Thank you.
It's a fantastic place.
Oh, it's not much, but I call it a second home. Feast your eyes on these honeys. You can still smell the jungle on them. Go ahead, take a whiff.
Smells like global warming.
20th Century Fox presents...
Now, what does that show off want?
Isn't he like the coolest dad ever?
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Honey, come on now. You're not going to get involved in that whole competitive playground rivalry thing, are you?
No. Hey, Murtaugh! This is our year!
Let's see what you got, Tom.
Get focused and stay with the game plan. Okay, we don't have a game plan, but
Here's the game plan. We're going to step on their throats and press down until they stop breathing.
Steve Martin.
Oh, guys!
Dad!
Mind if I go waterboarding with you?
I'm pretty sure that you can't do it.
Hey, if Jimmy can do it, I can do it.
Cheaper by the dozen, too.
We'll do better next time, Mr. Baker.
I'm all right.
So this is, like I said before, the second of the two family with multiple kids movies that we have in 2005, and of course this is the sequel to the much more successful one from a couple of years prior, which you know good and goddamn well why Yours, Mine, and Ours came out, because that movie was successful, and they were already working on the sequel to this one. And in this one, you have the Baker family, once again, with a lot of the same people from the previous movie, as they go on a vacation and contend with a rival family, the Murtaughs, who are played by Eugene Levy and Carmel Electra as the couple. I mean, you figure that out. I mean, that's already is like at that point, if you're not already stretching the reality and going along for the ride at that point, you're probably not going to enjoy this movie. But you also have Jamie King involved in here, Robbie Amell, who would later become Arrow on the television series, Taylor Lautner, pre-Twilight, and Jonathan Bennett, who you've seen in a ton of stuff before. This is directed by Adam Shakeman. Even though Sean Levy, the original director, is involved in this movie, he's a producer and has a cameo. He's working on the Pink Panther movie around this time, but yeah, this is definitely not a good movie in general, but it kicks the crap out of Yours, Mine, and Ours. But I will say that it does, kind of like with Dick and Jane, it does have those little moments that kind of make it work, at least for me. Like, I think it's a fun movie. I think it's good. I think it's good. As I said, you go into it knowing exactly what you're going in for. You're going for a comedy sequel that's probably not going to be as good as you expect it to be, because let's be honest, most comedy sequels don't usually do a lot there to really improve on the quality of the original film. They just make it because the first movie made all the money and all that, and instead just rehash the first movie all over again. But yeah, a lot of it is in this movie, but I give it credit for the stuff that it does do. Like, I like that they used Eugene Levy's character in here. He's not playing the same character he played in, like, The Man. You know, he's not being Jim's dad in American Pie. He actually is playing a different character. And he does get a couple of really good laughs in the movie, alongside Steve Martin. You know, I like the chemistry between Tom Welling and Jamie King. I think that's a very cool. I think that's a very fun little chemistry they have. I like the chemistry between Allison Stoner and Taylor Lautner. Like, remember, Taylor Lautner did start his career off with some promising roles in general, but then Twilight completely ruined him, and then he went on to star in, like, terrible Adam Sandler movies after that. Like I said, not a great movie by any means necessary, but really it's not a bad movie either. It's just your typical comedy sequel. And in terms of comedy sequels, this is one of the few ones that I would say it's passable. If you like the first one and can turn your brain off at the door and just go into it knowing that you're not going to get a very smart movie, just a movie that's going to be fun to watch in general, I think you can go into it and have a good time with it. If you like the first one, I think you can get into this one and enjoy it just as much. But then again, there's not really much more to say about it that's really positive. Like I said, it's not a great movie by any means necessary, but it is a film that, unlike Yours, Mine, and Ours, is at least trying to add something to it. They're at least trying to do something a little bit different, but at the same time, it does feel like a retread that we've seen done before. But really, it's not a bad movie. It's not a bad movie. It's just a movie that's just, it's your typical comedy sequel, but it's definitely, I would say, one of the slightly better ones, but not by that much. I mean, it's just I think it's just because it's Adam Shakeman, and I kind of like what Sean Levy and some other directors I've talked about. Adam Shakeman just makes these great comfort food movies. They're fun films that you can go into it knowing what you're going in for, and sometimes you'll get a great movie out of these people here and there, but most of the time, most of the movies they make are not bad movies. They're just good enough where you could say, I liked it. And I can honestly say, I do like Cheaper by the Dozen too. I think it is a fun movie, not a great movie, but fun nonetheless. At least that's my personal opinion on it. Speaking of movies that are fun and probably should not be good movies in any way, shape, or form, let's finally get to Johnny Knoxville as the guy who's pretending to be mentally challenged so he can rate the Special Olympics and make money off of it. He literally tells you this in the trailer for The Ringer.
Father, I've been doing something bad. Really bad. I'm a terrible person.
There are no terrible people. Only poor, misguided souls. Now, please, unburden yourself.
I'm sorry, Father. I can't even say the words.
My son, there is no sin unforgivable to those who seek redemption.
I've been pretending to be mentally challenged so I can fix the Special Olympics. To make money off of it. Father?
I mean, let's be honest, that's exactly what you do if someone was telling you this plan in general. So, there's an interesting history behind this movie in general. First things first, as you see by the watermark at the end of the trailer there, this was a trailer released in 2004, because the original intention of this was to release this sometime in earlier 2005, I'm guessing. I think it was originally, I think if I remember correctly, it was originally scheduled for like a March 05 release. I could be wrong on that. Somewhere around there in general. I think that's why they had that there in the beginning. And then, of course, it got pushed back because I feel like the studio was really scared of how to sell this movie to people. Rightfully so, and it also didn't help that South Park did a notable episode of this show where Cartman had the exact same plan. He's going to rig the Special Olympics because he knows he can, because he thinks that he can beat these special ed kids, and as we find out, that's not the case in general. It's one of the great South Park episodes. It's the one where Jimmy, takes steroids to try to break all the records and all that, and it's just really, really fun episode overall. Really funny episode, especially seeing Cartman getting his comeuppance at the end. But I think that's why this movie also got pushed back too. But in this movie, it centers around Johnny Knoxville, who, as part of a scheme to pay off his debts, poses as being developmentally disabled to compete in the Special Olympics. What's interesting about this movie is that this movie took 7 years to get made because of, obviously, the controversial subject. And the Special Olympics Committee eventually agreed to endorse the film. The filmmakers had given them the final say on the script in general. That's the one thing that really took people off guard with this movie, that the Special Olympics actually looked at this and said, yeah, we'll go ahead and finally do this. And, it's a weird idea. It's just like this whole movie seems like it should be offensively bad on so many levels, and yet the Special Olympics are the ones that look at this and go like, okay, we'll go along with it. And even the most shocking thing about this whole movie is that it actually is surprisingly heartfelt and actually is a very fun movie. And with an idea like this, you would think that this would be nothing like that whatsoever, but they have good talent on board here in terms of the actors. You've got Johnny Knoxville, who can be very funny, and if you put him in the good role, he can make it work. Brian Cox has a very good fun role here. Even Katherine Heigl is very fun in this movie in general. I like the kids that they have, the guys who play the special ed kids in this. I think they have a lot of chemistry, and they have a lot of good elements to them that make them fun characters in general. This is directed by Barry W. Blaustein, who's written a ton of comedies you may be familiar with, like Coming to America, Boomerang. He did the documentary Beyond the Mat. Ricky Blitt, of course, has written for Family Guy. So there's a lot of good talent behind this movie in general. The Farrelly brothers are producing it, of course. And it really does make a movie that it should be really, really distasteful and offensive on so many levels, and yet has that sweet heartness to it that really makes you go like, how the hell did this movie become this? Like, in a way that I would say, good job, man. Good job on these people for making a movie that actually is very, very well done. It's a very fun film. It's not a perfect movie by any means necessary, and it doesn't insult the intelligence of the audience and make these characters stereotypical characters that you would be familiar with. Like, you can understand everybody's situations here. You understand Johnny Knoxville's situation here. Even if you don't agree with what he's going with here, you do like what they're trying to tell you here. And everybody in here just works very, very well. Everyone plays their part to a T. It just works on so many levels. It's a really enjoyable little film. It's not a great movie by any means necessary. It has jokes that don't work as well as they probably should, but it's a film that really is well done in more aspects than you could possibly imagine. I think it's a very enjoyable film, and one I would say definitely check out. If you want to see a good Johnny Knoxville comedy from 2005, this is definitely one I would recommend. Definitely give it a shot. The Ringer. Really, really enjoyable film. So let's continue on here with one of the best movies of the year, Steven Spielberg, doing his twofer for the year. He had War of the Worlds earlier in the year, and now he has his best film overall of the year, and that is Munich.
We have 11 Palestinian names. Each had a hand in planning Munich. We want them dead.
From Steven Spielberg, the acclaimed director of Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan, comes the film Time magazine calls his boldest feat yet. Munich is spectacularly gripping, says Entertainment Weekly.
Just in the phone.
We're in there long. Two thumbs way up. The best movie of the year. Munich.
So not surprisingly, the story of Munich is that this is about the story behind Operation Wrath of God, the Israel government's secret retaliation against the Palestinian Liberation Organization after the Munich massacre at the 1972 Olympics. And you follow a man named Yuval Yuval Avid, who states he was a Mossad agent, and it follows a squad of assassins as they track down and kill alleged members of the group Black September, which had kidnapped and murdered 11 Israeli athletes. And, as I said before, this was one of those years where Spielberg directed 2 films in the same year, and they were always mixed bag years. One year you would have a really good movie from Spielberg in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and then you get something like Always. 93 overall, I think, was probably his best year of doing 2 really good movies, because he did the first Jurassic Park and then Schindler's List. Another example is 97, when he had The Lost World, Jurassic Park, and Amistad, 2005, War of the Worlds, and then this movie. And then 2002 was a good year, too. Minority Report and Catch Me If You Can. And this was another one of those years where he had 2 movies. One was not that great in general. It still had some good moments to it, but this was easily his overall best film. I really dug the hell out of this movie. I think Steven Spielberg does a really good job creating a visually stunning world and creating a really good story out of this, with a well-written script by Tony Kushner, who would write for several of Spielberg's movies later on down the road, such as Lincoln and West Side Story. And boasted by a great cast that includes Eric Bana, Daniel Craig, Kieran Hines, Jeffrey Rush, just top talent all around here. And much like what he did with Schindler's List, it's not afraid to go for a more heavier storyline. It's not afraid to give us the cold, hard truth of how rough it was for these people and the obstacles they had to face in general. It's a really good film. Definitely one of Spielberg's great triumphs that doesn't really get the proper attention it deserves. In fact, it wasn't even that big of a hit when it came out in theaters. It actually didn't perform as well as they were expecting it to, but it still received a ton of Oscar nominations, including Best Picture and, of course, Best Director. And, not much more to say about this one. This is a really good movie, and definitely one of Spielberg's more underrated films in general. This was a great film, Munich. So, with that said, let me go ahead and take a look here and see what the next movie is. Kind of another underrated little comedy that kind of came and went. Jennifer Aniston, Mark Ruffalo, Kevin Costner, Shirley MacLaine starring in Rob Reiner's Rumor Has It.
Want to have sex in the bathroom?
I don't know, Sarah. It's so cramped in here. They got that harsh light.
I'm serious.
I don't think you are.
I am serious.
I don't know.
Oh, come on.
We're about to begin our final descent into Los Angeles.
You're here. Oh my God, I'm getting married tomorrow.
My sister, she bounces. Grandma, I told you never to call me that in public. Did Mom sleep with someone before marrying Dad? Bo Burrows. Who?
Mom liked Bo Burrows.
You seduced him, and then she ran off with him a week before the wedding. Isn't that what happened?
I don't believe everything you see in the movies.
Get me a copy of The Graduate.
It's my family, Jeff. We are the Robinsons. Why has no one ever told me about this?
Well, most of all, you have to hide it from the kids, Cuckoo.
You're Mrs. Robinson.
I mean, this is another one of those movies that probably should not work because the plot is very much a gimmick in general, where you have a story where Jennifer Aniston is a woman that finds out that her mother and grandmother may have been the inspiration for the story of The Graduate, of course, made into the classic movie with Dustin Hoffman and Anne Bancroft. And Shirley MacLaine is the grandmother in this, and Kevin Costner is the man who supposedly was the Dustin Hoffman character at inspiration in the book for the film. And it's a really interesting idea, a gimmick that could seem like it could go in so many different directions if it's not handled by a really good director. And Rob Reiner has made a lot of really good movies in general. And, you have him, you have Ted Griffin, who has written some notable things. Ocean's 11, Matchstick Men, a couple of really underrated little gems. Of course, did a lot of work for television, The Shield, Terriers. He's a really good writer, and it's a really good idea, and it makes for a very entertaining movie. It got a really good cast: Jennifer Aniston, acting legends like Kevin Costner, Shirley MacLaine, Mark Ruffalo, Mina Suvari, Richard Jenkins involved in here as well. It's a really fun idea and a really interesting storyline that is done very well because you have somebody like Rob Reiner who can make a really good movie out of it. And it's a really fun movie. It's a really fun concept overall, and it really is a film that does take advantage of the plot and does have a lot of really good, funny moments in it. Ridiculously funny moments at times, too. It's definitely one of his more underrated films in general. This was kind of towards the end of his career, really, because he didn't really make a lot of great movies after this. A couple of little underrated gems here and there, like this movie and also Flipped, which came out about 5 years later. I really like this movie a lot. I think it's definitely a lot better than people let on. It's a really good concept, a really fun idea. I'd say definitely check it out. It's definitely one of the better Jennifer Aniston rom-coms, in my personal opinion. I like it a lot. Rumor has it. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is the horror film Wolf Creek.
In 1996, a hitchhiker was attacked by something wild. In 2002, it happened again to a family of 4.
So, what do you actually do?
On December 25th.
I can tell you. And then, I'd have to kill you.
Experience the most terrifying place on Earth. Wolf Creek, based on true events.
Get away from her!
As well as not yet rated in theaters everywhere Christmas Day.
So Wolf Creek is the story about 3 backpackers who find themselves taken captive and subsequently hunted by Mick Taylor, a sadistic, psychopathic, xenophobic serial killer in the Australian outback. This was a big deal when it came out. It was a movie that was released at Christmas time, and, you know, Weinstein, the Dimension Films, still trying to make this idea that if we release, hey, it worked for Scream, so we're going to keep trying to release these horror movies. Hopefully, we have the next Scream on our hands. And this film did have somewhat of a cult following. I do remember getting some decent reviews overall, and it did eventually go on to have a cult following, where it did lead to a sequel and even a TV series spinoff. I personally have never seen the movie. I just never really had any intention on ever watching it. It just really never really was something I wanted to see in general. I heard some good things about it, but I've never seen it, so I can't really say anything about it. Just know that it did come out this weekend. It did get a following over the years, but I personally haven't seen it, so I can't really say if it's any good or not. So with that said, let's go back to some movies I have seen. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, which is Heath Ledger in Casanova.
From the director of Chocolat comes the movie critics are calling one of the year's best.
Casanova! You stand for everything I'm against.
Really? Casanova is smart, funny, and ravishingly romantic.
Let's start by taking one step closer to heaven.
Heath Ledger, Sienna Miller, in the most original comedy since Shakespeare in Love.
The gift.
My mistress says the pig cannot come in, but the animal will take.
Casanova, rated R.
Those women are about to commit the ultimate form of bestiality on that pig. Casanova, what a way to start this review off. Casanova, played by Heath Ledger, is in love with Francesca, played by Sienna Miller, who thinks he is friends of himself, even though he is engaged to Victoria, who is the love of Giovanni, Francesca's brother. Francesca is betrothed to Fabrizio, who thinks Casanova is the feminist writer Guardi, who is really Francesca's nom de plume. Amidst all these secret identities and misunderstandings, the Catholic Church spends Pucci to bring Casanova and Guardi to trial for heresy. Did you get all that? Because I'm not repeating myself again after that. This is directed by Lasse Hallström, who had a movie that came out this year that we did take a look at because of Winn-Dixie, but this is the one that people saw as his overall more successful film in general, which, because of Winn-Dixie, really was not that successful, and this one barely got by with decent box office. It was not a big hit critically either. It was kind of like a mixed reviews in general, and I remember seeing the film in general, and I just thought it was okay. I think the performances by Ledger, Miller, Jeremy Irons, Oliver Platt, Lena Olin, I think they did carry the load here. You also have Charlie Cox, pre-Daredevil, Natalie Dormer, pre-Game of Thrones, Lauren Cohen, pre-Walking Dead. You got a lot of people who went on to become star much better things than this. But as far as the film itself goes, it's fine. There's nothing really about it that really stands out in general. Sometimes you get a good laugh here and there, but I think the performances overall are what carry it over in the long run. It doesn't know exactly if it wants to be more of a mainstream movie or an independent film. I mean, this is Lasse Hallström, who has made a lot of really good films in general. He's made a lot of films that have been much better than this, but yeah, it's just a movie that I just kind of was just like, eh. I mean, I've seen worse, but I've seen much better than this, honestly. So, yeah, not much more to say about Casanova, unfortunately. But let's go ahead and move on to the last one we have here, Terrence Malick's The New World. See, Disney, you don't have to remake Pocahontas into a live-action movie. Terrence Malick already did it for you. And, boy, he made it pretty pretentious, I'll tell you that much. But this is literally just the live-action equivalent of Pocahontas. Nobody's singing. And it's much more pretentious, and it's Terrence Malick doing what he does best, I guess. But in the story, it depicts the founding of the Jamestown, Virginia settlement and was inspired by the historical figures Captain John Smith, played by Colin Farrell, and Pocahontas, who's played here by Kikorika Kilcher. I think I'm pronouncing that right, I could be wrong on that. The Powhatan tribe, and Englishman John Rolfe. And you have a cast that includes Farrell, Kilcher, Christopher Plummer, Christian Bale, August Schellenberg, Wes Studi, David Thewlis, and yeah, this is about as, like I said, it's a pretty pretentious movie, and it does go way, way too longer than it needs to. This is kind of the beginning of the downward trend for Terrence Malick, because, you know, before this he made a couple of decent films, The Thin Red Line, but this was kind of sort of the trend that we came to know from Terrence Malick, where, you know, everything had that pretentious feel to it, you know, stuff like The Tree of Life, To the Wonder, Night of Cups, Song to Song, just very, very generic movies and films that just weren't that great in general overall. They were just movies that were just kind of like, yeah, like this guy has his finger up his, you know what, so much, and it just shows in the latter movies. This was the beginning of kind of that trend in general, because it does get really boring really fast, and it's way too bleak. The cast overall, I think, is fine. I was about to sneeze there, so that's why I got distracted at the end of that, but the cast overall is fine. I think they do carry the load of the film. The actress who's playing Pocahontas, Kirianka, I think it's Kirianka Kilcher. You know, she's fine in the movie. I think she really is the strongest performance in the movie in general. Colin Farrell is fine in here. So's Christian Bale. So's Christopher Plummer. The cinematography looks pretty good. It does have that epic scale to it. You're always going to have a winner when you have James Horner as the composer for your music. I think that really helps the film in general. But overall, yeah, it's a little bit too up its own butt for its own good, and it is the beginning of kind of that trend that Terrence Malick was going to go down eventually. But, yeah, not much more to say about this one in general. Fine, nothing too spectacular. The New World.
He has created some of the most entertaining and provocative films in history.
He played a very aggressive game.
Now, time raised. Woody Allen's Match Point is a film worth begging to see.
Are you having an affair?
Of course I'm not, And Match Point has been nominated for 4 Golden Globes, including Best Director, Best Supporting Actress Scarlett Johansson, and Best Picture of the Year. If you think you know where it's going, think again. Match Point, rated R. Now playing New York and LA Select Cities Friday.
So of all of Woody Allen's movies that he was making around this time, this was the one that felt the most freshest and the most different one from ones that he had made beforehand. This was the movie that really entered him into a brand new era that we will eventually see from him. At least we thought we were going to see from him. But he had a couple movies after this that were kind of similar to this, but none could really be as good as this particular film, because this film really took a lot of people by surprise that it came from Woody Allen. And in it you have Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, who's a former professional tennis player who marries into a wealthy family, but his social position is threatened by his affair with his brother-in-law's girlfriend, played by Scarlett Johansson. It deals with themes of mortality and greed, explores the roles of lust, money, and luck in life, and as many people compared it to one of Allen's earlier films, Crimes and Misdemeanors. And it's actually one of the first movies that Woody Allen made outside of New York City. He actually filmed this in London because he couldn't find any financial support in New York City to work this on. So he assembled a cast and crew that was mostly from the UK. He rewrote the script and basically said it in English. And it works to the film's favor because it's a really good movie. It's a very intense psychological thriller. It's something very different that we haven't seen from Woody Allen in a long, long time. I think the last one that even came close to being something like this was the film that he made after Annie Hall, which was was it Interiors, or it was something like that. I need to check just to make sure. I was right. It was Interiors. I was thinking of the Talia Shire '80s movie Windows, where she's attacked by some guy. It was like a lesbian thriller. That's what I was thinking the title was. But no, it was called Interiors. It's a much more darker movie. It's not really much of a comedy in general. In fact, Woody Allen's not even in this movie at all. I mean, this is a movie that is strictly a cast that includes people like Brian Cox, Matthew Good, Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, as I said, Emily Mortimer. Scarlett Johansson's the only one in this movie that does not have a London accent in this movie, and it just feels like a very, very different movie than what we're used to seeing from a guy like Woody Allen. And it's refreshing. It's very sadistic. It's very tense all the way through. Scarlett Johansson, Jesus, like lost in translation. If you didn't think she was really good, I've lost my train of thought. I'm thinking about Scarlett Johansson too much. But if you didn't think that the opening of Lost in Translation was her at her sexiest, this movie takes the cake, man. I mean, this is a movie that is just like, this is prime Scarlett Johansson. This is like when people realize that, oh my God, this woman is beautiful, and she's a great actress too. Win-win. It's a double win on everyone's part. And yeah, I mean, really, there's not much more I can say about this movie that hasn't already been said. It's a really good thriller. It feels very different from what we're used to seeing from Woody Allen. There's a great cast to work with here. It keeps you on the edge of your seat, wondering how it's going to transpire. And it's just a fun, it's not even a fun film. It's a really, really good movie. I mean, it's fun if you think affairs are fun in general, which there might be some people that think that's the case, but it's a really good movie. I recommend it a lot. Definitely one of the best movies of the year, no question about it. Match point. So let's go ahead and move on to kind of an underrated movie with Pierce Brosnan in it called The Matador.
The Matador, rated R.
Now, some people out there might think that that's probably a terrible way to sell the movie, but then again, some people might find that kind of interesting, just having a scene where Pierce Brosnan is walking around in his underwear, drinking with a glass of scotch, just, you know, probably drunk off his mind, about to jump into a pool. Hey, some people like that. Some people think that's a way to sell the movie. That's probably a good way to sell the film in general, but in this movie, you have a chance encounter between a traveling salesman, played by Greg Kinnear, and a lonely hitman, played by Brosnan, who trigger a strangely profound relationship which provokes each to act in ways they never would have imagined possible. Fate steps in to form a friendship between the two men from irreconcilable worlds that will alternate the lives of both forever. And in addition to Greg Kinnear, you have Hope Davis, Philip Baker Hall, Dylan Baker, Adam Scott's also in the movie as well. And it was a movie that surprisingly does kind of work. I mean, the marketing was kind of all over the place, but when you watch the film, it's a very odd movie. It's a film that kind of has, it reminded me a lot of The Ice Harvest a little bit, a movie I talked about before, which I think is a better movie in general, but this movie I think really does work very well on a number of different levels, mostly because of what the cast and crew bring to the table in this. Brosnan's great in the movie, Greg Kinnear is really good. The storyline that they have, the guys have to go through here is very well done. It's just a really, really enjoyable movie. A movie that shows what these two guys are very much capable of. And keep in mind, this was also supposed to be originally a direct-to-video release. The director even said he had written it for a video release because he thought nobody in Hollywood was going to make it. But luckily, the Weinstein Company had just started up, and they were looking for movies to try to get their name out there. And lo and behold, this is a movie that sold to them, and it kind of worked out in their favor in the long run. It's a pretty good movie. It's one I definitely recommend checking out if you haven't seen it. The Matador, a really, really underrated little gem. So now let's go ahead and get into the leftovers of the year. And again, this paper will not stay up. So let's go ahead and get right to it. And we'll start off with the first release I have on here, and that is Mulan 2.
From the Academy Award-nominated motion picture, you'll always remember the courage, the honor.
You have saved us all.
The triumph. Now, her legacy continues.
It is a privilege to be the hero of China.
Walt Disney Pictures presents Mulan 2, an all-new movie.
The spirits tell me Shang will propose to Mulan. She said yes.
About true love.
My little baby's getting married.
To share the burden, we must work together.
Oh, no. Don't let that happy little trailer fool you on any way, shape, or form. This movie takes some of those beloved characters and just completely obliterates anything that made them likable in the first movie, especially Mushu, because good lord. Mulan 2, the first of many, many direct-to-video sequels from Disney that came out in 2005. And In the movie, you have Fa Mulan getting the surprise of her young life when her love, Captain, now General Li Shang, asks for her hand in marriage. Between the two can live there happily ever after. The Emperor assigns them to a special mission to escort 3 princesses to Qui-Gon, China, and Mushu is determined to drive a wedge between the couple after he learns that he will lose his guardian job if Mulan marries into the Li family. After the princesses unexpectedly fall in love with the Gang of 3, of course from the previous film, Mulan decides to help them escape the fate of marrying men they don't love, contradicting the Emperor's orders and forcing him to put Mulan's relationship with Shang into question. They're attacked by Mongolians, and the fate of China hangs in the balance. Yeah. So the first Mulan movie was made with the same heart and intention that Disney puts into their animated classics, which is admittedly probably one of the overall weaker movies in the 90s Disney Renaissance, but it's still a good movie to it. It has a lot of heart and charm to it. This is about as typical and pointless as your bad sequel is going to get, pretty much on all fronts on it. From the lackluster animation that can be downright silly in many parts to turning Mushu into the biggest dickbag in the world in this movie. It's bad enough that Eddie Murphy can't come back to play Mushu, so we get kind of a half-assed Mushu impersonation, but the fact that his only purpose in this movie is to split Mulan and Li Shang up so he won't lose his guardian job, it's not only lazy, but it makes Mushu into a straight-up dickbag. Like, he's the real bad guy in this movie. He'd be even more threatening than the actual villains are in this movie, which, by the way, they don't even show up in this movie at all, no. Because interested in Mulan actually fighting bad guys and kicking butt like she did in the last movie, what's her big mission in this? Take these 3 daughters to meet their fiancés and turn it into a bad road movie, because that's all this really is, a really bad road movie. And the worst part about it is that they're arranged to be married to these 3 Chinese princesses so that an alliance can be formed by the Kingdom of Qui-Gon so they can help stop the Mongolians. And guess what? Remember the supporting characters from the last movie? The princesses all fall for them instead. So basically, they're giving up China for true love. Yeah. It's nice that you meet your special someone, ladies, but you just fuck China up in the ass in the process, and the movie makes it seem like it's the right decision to do at the end, and no, it isn't. The whole point of this is that you're doing this to save China. You are literally putting millions of lives on the line because your heart is telling you to go down another path, and it's just like, go fuck yourself, man. Like, this movie has some of the most fucked up logic I've ever seen in my life, and, how's that supposed to work? Mushu's bad in this, Mulan's bad in this, the animation in this is bad, the songs are bad, the story, just everything about this movie is so horribly put together. Even for a direct-to-video movie, this is pathetic what they put together here. And, I think I've used enough F-bombs to put my point together, and this is, bottom line here is this movie is terrible. This is an absolutely horrible, horrible movie. Avoid this one like the plague, because, good lord, they completely took everything that made the first Mulan movie so special and just drained it, flushed it down the toilet. I would rather watch the 2020 live-action remake again than this pile of garbage. And again, that's how bad this movie is. So, we'll take a step into some more Disney movies in a little bit here, direct-to-video movies, because our next one is a Disney movie, but it's a Disney Channel original movie, Kim Possible movie, So the Drama.
It's Disney Channel's first original animated feature.
Let's rock.
Disney's Kim Possible movie, So the Drama. She's taking on the bad guys. Oh, well, Kim Possible.
As if.
Taking it to the limit.
Let's go mission mode.
But who is she taking to the prom? Disney's Kim Possible movie, So the Drama. Tonight at 8/7 Central on Disney Channel.
I believe that this is actually the second Disney Channel original animated movie. The first one was Kim Possible, A Stitch in Time. If I had my glasses right now, I could pull off the full nerd effect, but I do actually have reading glasses, but I haven't used them in years, so I have no idea where the hell they are in my house, but yeah. This is actually the second Disney Channel original animated movie after A Stitch in Time, but this is the one that marks the end of the Kim Possible series as a whole. This was supposed to be originally the series finale before they eventually bought it back for another season. And in this movie, which is set up as the final episode, as they're on their next adventure mission, Kim and Rom reflect on their own lives and everything that they have been through together. They both need to figure out what is next in their own lives and how it will all affect their friendships and relationships. And like I said, it's a movie that literally sets itself up as the final episode as a whole, but kind of unlike the previous Kim Possible movie, which was more comedic in the adventure that it was going on, this one does take itself more seriously. Like that title of So the Drama takes another level in this, because this is much more serious of a movie than you could have possibly imagined. You still get some comedy here and there, but this is one where I really do feel like they did put a lot more effort into it to make it seem like this is about as close to a theatrical movie as you're possibly going to get. It's a much bigger movie in terms of scope, scale, epicness, and just how everything is going to turn out in the end. And it makes for a really entertaining movie that, if you were a fan of Kim Possible back in the day, like I was, you probably get a very satisfactory series finale, or what was supposed to be a series finale before the show eventually was brought back for another season. But yeah, this is a really good movie. If you love the original Kim Possible series and you want to see what a proper finale to this could be like, you're going to get it from this movie here, because it definitely delivers on what was supposed to be the final episode, but as I said, it was later brought back. But for what they were giving you here, it works very well. It's a really good movie. If you like Kim Possible, this is a very serviceable finale. And not much more to say about that one. Kim Possible movie, so the drama. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that is Reefer Madness, the movie musical.
Convicted and sentenced to death by electrocution. Any last words? Well put, all this way. In 1936, a madness swept the teenage world. An evil so insidious, so seductive, that even its name, struck fear into the hearts of the citizenry.
Public enemy number one.
Forsooth, there, Juliet.
Are you trying to woo me?
Now, two young sweethearts, Mary Lane and Jimmy Harper,
I'm Jack.
will be caught up in the path of the evil demon weed.
This isn't that I've read about.
All the rage in Paris.
Paris?
And drawn into a seamy world filled with decadence,
For a night, I was more lax than a napkin.
corruption.
Are you putting on weight?
Lately, I seem to be hungry all the time.
Good girls gone bad,
Tonight, you and me are gonna break out like the measles.
and some very rude behavior.
Shut up, bitch.
Yeah, you know how The Producers was seen as a mostly mixed bag musical that came out in December of 2005? Well, months before that, we had a movie musical here based off of a classic film that probably should have just stayed as a musical, because let me tell you something, this is pretty bad. I mean, this is a movie that I feel like was probably intending to be so much more than what they expected it to be, but man, this is a rough movie to sit through. This is, of course, based off the classic 1936 public domain exploitation film of the same name, but this is actually based off of a 1998 musical of the same name with a lot of the same people who made that bringing into the forefront in this movie. And our cast includes Kristen Bell, Neve Campbell, Alan Cumming, Anna Gasteyer, John Kaiser, and Steven Weber. Just a really memorable cast in general, but unfortunately they're not really given a whole lot to do in this movie except just be over the top, and man, does it not work in this film's favor. It tells the tale of the Harper affair, in which young Jimmy Harper finds his life of promise turned into a life of debauchery and murder, thanks to the new drug menace marijuana, along the way he receives help from his girlfriend Mary and Jesus himself, but always finds himself in the arms of the Reefer Man and the rest of the denizens of the Reefer Den. See, the problem with this movie is that the original Reefer Madness is one of the most legendary public domain is guilty pleasure movies of all time, because it's a movie that is notoriously bad for... It's the very definition of a so bad it's good type of movie. When you try to remake a movie like that in today's world with a film like this, oh boy, like it struggles to find an identity to itself. This movie gets way too more over the top. It's made for a modern setting, so that means there's got to be more sex involved here. There's got to be more drugs. There's got to be more people There's people that they're literally trying to recapture the same look and feel of the original movie, and boy, does that not hold up in 2005. I mean, this was a rough watch to sit through, and I love a lot of the people that are involved in this movie, but oh my god, this movie is rough. Like this, if the original movie is a so bad it's good type of movie, this is a movie that's so bad it's bad. Like, this is easily the worst musical that came out in 2005. And yeah, we had stuff like Rent, we had The Producers, but you know what? This one takes the cake. And this was just a mess to sit through. I mean, I heard about this movie for the longest time, and I watched it in the last couple months to get ready for this. But man, it was definitely not worth it. I will tell you that. This was pretty rough. This was a really rough sit down to go through. And yeah, not much more to say about this one, but yeah, it's pretty bad. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie here. Fox getting into the direct-to-video market this year with a couple of movies. One of the most notable one of them being The Sandlot 2.
It was a summer of fun.
I got it!
A summer of memories.
Oh, no! We gotta get that ball back.
That became a beloved family classic.
So you're the ones that are making all that racket.
This spring, welcome back to The Sandlot.
Speaking of movies that are trying to capture the magic of their predecessors and failing miserably, The Sandlot 2. In the 12 years since the first movie, a new group of kids has moved into The Sandlot. You have David Durango, Max McKing, Saul, his stepbrother Sammy Fingers, Tarkel, Scotty's younger brother Johnny Smalls, and a surprise from The Sandlot 2, a girl in the group, Haley Goodferrier, Samantha Burton. When Johnny mistakenly sends a model rocket over the junk fence in the Great Fear's yard, the gang must retrieve her. Even with the help of the retriever, a kid who steals dog tags to find the Great Fear's a challenge. Yes, and complete with another psychotic name-calling scene with Mac and Little League Captain Singleton, and of course with James Earl Jones as Mr. Myrtle. James Earl Jones is the only person that comes back in this movie. And talk about a film that is literally trying to recapture the magic of the original film and failing miserably. This is a film that is just so... The bottom line of a bad direct-to-DVD sequel that's not there to do anything to expand on the story from the first movie. This is just a movie that's made to literally rehash the same movie again, do it for a modern audience, and hopefully you're stupid enough to go along for the ride. And man, I mean, I didn't buy into it. I got this as part of a triple feature set with the original film and the third film of the series, which we'll eventually delve into, The Sandlot Heading Home, which also is bad. But this is bad. This is a really, really bad movie. This is just nothing but a retread of the original Sandlot movie. And it's just do something different with it. I mean, how about a Sandlot sequel that actually has all the kids grown up? You know, let's have a story about the kids all grown up. Maybe the dog is still alive at this point. Maybe he's old, and maybe there's a relationship that they have with the dog the dog from the last movie. The dog is one of the more memorable things about the original Sandlot, too. But, no, they just try to rehash everything that made the first movie so special and then put it into this movie, and it just doesn't work. It's a really, really bad direct-to-DVD sequel, but not the last bad direct-to-DVD sequel to come from 20th Century Fox, because as I said, they would start the trend of doing what Disney did in the past and saying, we're going to make our own sequels to movies here. I mean, we are owned, but we are run by Tom Rothman, who clearly has a bright future for 20th Century Fox going forward, as the next couple of years will definitely show. Not really, but not much more to say about this one, The Sandlot 2. So let's go ahead and get back to some Disney movies. Let's get back to some Disney direct-to-video sequels, starting with Tarzan 2.
The story is legend. Now experience, for the first time, the beginning of Tarzan's journey as a young boy in an all-new adventure. Tarzan 2.
I mean, it's better than Tarzan and Jane. I guess I'll give it that. So, in this movie, set back when Tarzan was just a boy, this is the story of Tarzan's journey to self-discovery. When Tarzan begins to see that he is not like the other gorillas, his mother Kala, once again played by Glenn Close, assures him that his slight differences only make him stronger. But when he discovers that when these differences put Kala in danger, he decides everyone will be better off without him and runs away. He then finds himself in a dark, desolate land called Dark Mountain, where he meets a new friend who helps him discover that even though he does not possess the talents of an ape, he has his own unique set of jungle skills that make him even more amazing than any other creature, so that he can finally see who he truly is, that ape being played by George Carlin. And let's set the record straight first here. This is a prequel, not a sequel. So the movie once again, they're kind of telling you something that's not true on this front. It's not really a Tarzan 2. It's more like a Tarzan 1.5, if you will. So once again, false advertising on Disney's part. But as far as the film itself goes, it's actually not that bad. I mean, I would even dare go as far as to say it's probably one of the more enjoyable direct-to-video movies they've done. It's not a classic by any means necessary, but it is an interesting and fun little continuation with these younger characters that I thought could have been more detailed in the original theatrical release. And nothing about this movie stands out in terms of a story, but from an animation perspective, it does have much nicer animation than you could have asked for in a direct-to-video sequel. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Bambi 2 a little bit, kind of like a mid-quel, like a movie that takes place in between certain events of Tarzan. Like, this would take place right after, you know, he realizes that he's not one of the apes and has to realize who he really is. Like, this is a really fun film. It's got a lot of good voice actors in here. George Carlin doing a very good job in this. He's very funny, and he does give a occasionally very charming performance in this. This is actually one of his last movies that he did before his death, the other one being Cars, and a couple other ones as well. But this is not a classic by any means necessary. It's okay, but nothing incredible. But the animation really works very well. The voice acting is nicely done. It's a harmless but enjoyable sequel. A prequel, if you will, to a good Disney film. Take it for what it is, and I think you can enjoy it for what it is. So that's Tarzan 2. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one we have here, and that is another Disney Channel original animated movie released in 2005, The Proud Family Movie.
To Disney Channel, it's The Proud Family, so big.
I'm turning 16. I'm officially mature enough to make my own decisions.
So crazy.
Everybody run for your lives! It's the Sugar Monster!
So nutty.
Okay, now it's time to panic.
If you want to survive, you must come with me. That they had turned into a movie. Yo, Oscar.
A movie that is so big, it's completely retconned in the recent Proud Family series. Yes, no joke. In the Proud Family Louder and Prouder, they literally retcon this entire movie and make it a dream. So none of this even happens in real life. But before this was completely retconned, you have the story of Penny, once again played by Kyla Pratt, whose relationship with her father hasn't exactly been a close one. Her father, of course, being Tommy Davidson. Penny is about to turn 16, and she is determined to have the best birthday ever. She and her friends audition to become backup dancers for this rapper 15 Cent, who's the cousin of Sticky Webb. 15 Cent begins to develop romantic feelings for Penny as she recuperates her feelings to her. The two share a kiss, causing an infuriated Oscar to look on. Oscar grounds Penny and doesn't allow her to have a birthday, causing Penny to furiously disown Oscar for treating her like a child and for being her father. Trudy tries to get Penny and Oscar to make peace by taking them on a tropical vacation, which apparently a lot of these Disney Channel movies back then, that was their idea of a movie. Let's go on a tropic adventure, because, hey, it's a movie, so we're going to take it on a bigger level than the series beforehand. But Penny doesn't seem to be enjoying the trip as she befriends Cashew, a sympathetic peanut clone of Dr. Carver, played by Arsenio Hall. However, another plot begins to unravel for Penny when she uncovers Dr. Carver's true motives, and she learns that the family she went home with isn't actually her family, but clone versions of themselves. Penny enlists the help of her friends to save her real family from Dr. Carver. This movie is fucking nuts, man. Like quite literally. This is one of the most chaotic movies I have ever seen in my entire life. It's just like... But then again, that probably makes it more sense for the Proud Family Louder and Prouder to retcon this as a dream, because, good lord, the stuff they pull in this movie is just so insane and so over the top. Like, it makes sense why this was probably retconned into a dream, because everything about this movie feels like a really effed up nightmare. Like, this is something that probably Dumbo would have seen if in the pink elephant sequence from the original Dumbo movie. I mean, this is how crazy the movie gets here. I don't know what they were on when they were doing this, but they were apparently having fun with it, and if you go along on that front, I think you can enjoy this movie for what it is. I mean, it's a very chaotic movie. It's a very, very chaotic movie that just feels so out of place with the original Proud Family series, but now that I think about it, maybe it is probably better that the reboot actually did retcon this as a dream, because how would the hell you explain this thing to happen in real life in general? So, and again, would that make the Lilo and Stitch crossover a retcon too? Probably. I mean, I'm guessing that's what probably would happen, but I don't know. But overall, I really enjoyed this one a lot, though. It is very chaotic, over the top, but fun. Speaking of Lilo and Stitch, what a segue. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, Lilo and Stitch 2. Stitch Has a Glitch.
Dear Dyer, Stitch has been doing really great. His goodness level is way up. And climbing. I've been helping him get in touch with his inner elf. This is the exact bench where Elvis sat in Blue Hawaii.
Oh, yeah, that's him. Leave it to the box.
But something strange is happening. Stitch is acting really weird. Even for Stitch.
What?
I don't know if there's enough Ohana in all of Hawaii to fix this problem.
All new from Walt Disney Pictures, the sequel to the hit movie Lilo and Stitch. But this time, Stitch has a glitch. Lilo and Stitch 2. Stitch has a glitch. Now on Disney DVD.
You know, it's interesting how this one in particular does feel like more of a sequel to the original Lilo and Stitch in terms of the quality of animation, because it was originally intended for a theatrical release, but I guess they decided, you know, we don't know if this is going to be successful enough to put in theaters, so just put it out on DVD. But in this movie, it takes place between the original Lilo and Stitch series, and, the movie, and the Lilo and Stitch series. Actually, between Lilo and Stitch the movie, where you find the rowdy extraterrestrial Stitch, once again played by Chris Sanders, getting used to life with his new Ohana. However, a malfunction in the ultimate creation of Dr. Jumbo soon emerges, which reinstates his destructive programming and threatens to both ruin his relationship with Lilo, who's played here by Dakota Fanning, very different from the times when Daveigh Chase plays her. I don't know why they replaced her voice, and to short him out for good. And, yeah, it's a really good movie. It's a film that really is well done on a lot of different levels. I mean, it's a surprisingly well-made sequel that's just as good as its theatrical predecessor, mostly because the movie works because the chemistry that both the main stars attribute together, and it still works very well, and the film's way of bringing up family and friendship is nicely executed, much like in the first film. It's a really good movie. It's one that, yeah, it probably should have gone to theaters. I could have easily seen this one making a ton of money at the box office because Lilo and Stitch was was that one little gem in a dark era for Disney during the early part of the 2000s. And you just like seeing these characters. I mean, these are incredible characters that you really do grow attached to. There's a reason why Stitch is my favorite Disney character. I mean, he's somebody that is universally appealing to everybody. As I've said this before, like, you know, for the guys, he's very destructive. He's very chaotic. He's like very lazy in general. And for the ladies, like, he's so cute. He's charming. Like, it's like he fits all different kinds of generations. Like, you can find a lot to admire about this character in general, and that's what I really like about him so much. I think he is a very fun character to watch, and you know, it helps that you have a great voice in Chris Sanders to bring that character to life in general. It's a really good movie. It's a well-made sequel, a well-put-together sequel that's just as good as the original film is. This probably would have worked as a theatrical release if they really put it out in theaters. And, yeah, I really like it a lot. So, Lilo and Stitch 2, Stitch Has a Glitch. So let's move on to the next film we have here, and that is Roman Polanski's version of Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist.
Director Roman Polanski.
You know you've got no father or mother.
Yes, sir. Comes a story about friendship.
My new friend Oliver Twist.
I had the honor of a more intimate acquaintance.
Come on, Oliver, join us.
And a boy.
Please, sir, come in soon.
No!
That boy will be hanged on the adventure of a lifetime. Based on Charles Dickens' classic tale.
Something in it touched my heart.
Oliver Twist, rated PG-13, opens in New York and LA Friday.
It's literally Oliver Twist. I mean, there's not really much more to say about the story in general. Orphan Oliver Twist is sent from the orphanage to a workhouse in the 19th century, where the children are mistreated and barely fed. He's moved to the house of an undertaker, but after an unfair, severe spank, he starts a 7-day runaway to London. He arrives exhausted and starving and is soon welcomed into a gang of pickpocketers led by the old crook Fagin. When he's mistakenly taken as a thief, the wealthy victim, Mr. Brownlow, brings Oliver into his home and shelters him, but Fagin and the dangerous Bill Sykes decides to kidnap Oliver to burglarize Mr. Brownlow's fancy home. It's literally, like I said, it's literally the same plot as every other version of Oliver Twist. In fact, Oliver and Company, the Disney version, has very much the same story in general, and I think that's a better film in general here. Not to say that this movie is bad by any means necessary, but it's just nothing that different or that amazing in general compared to other versions of the story. They don't really do anything that new or different with it, except let's make it a live-action movie, and let's not make it with animals like we did with Oliver and Company. That's pretty much what the movie is in general. It's not a bad movie in any way, shape, or form, but it's just not an engaging film in general. There's nothing really about it that makes it stand out compared to other versions of the story. I don't know. To me, it was one that I saw, I was just kind of like, yeah, nothing really that different compared to other versions that I've seen. I'd rather watch Oliver and Company again than watch this one again, honestly. But it's not a bad movie, just one that's not really all that memorable. So with that said, let us go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is The Batman vs. Dracula.
He moves through the shadows. He watches during the night. And this winter, he is out for blood. That
Batman returns to face his most fearsome enemy yet in the Batman vs. Dracula, an all-new full-length animated feature.
A break-in at the bank. It's a blood bank.
Loaded with enough special features to keep you entertained for eternity.
Truly magnificent.
The Dark Knight finally meets the Prince of Darkness. Look for the all-new full-length animated feature, The Batman vs. Dracula, on DVD.
Sunrise will not help you this time.
I found this incredible new item. It's called SPF 50. I put it on me and I can barely get any sunburn. How come you idiots never told me about it? In fact, I might as well kill you just for not telling me that. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of for why Sunrise won't save save that guy. But hey, Batman goes up against Dracula. How the hell can you not be excited for that? Well, I got some bad news for you. This is not the Batman of Batman the Animated Series going up against Dracula. No. This is the Batman of, well, the Batman going up against Dracula. And for those of you who don't remember the Batman, it was basically a young Bruce Wayne, his third year of trying to establish himself as Batman, protector of Gotham City, living in Gotham and Metropolis where shadows run long and deep beneath elevated train tracks. The younger Batman will confront each of his familiar foes for the first time. So, pretty much Batman Begins before Batman Begins came out. And while it never reached the levels set by the animated series, which that show will never be able to be topped, no matter how hard they try to. I mean, I like Batman Caped Crusader a lot, but nothing tops the original show. This was a series that did get off very slow, but got better as the seasons went on. And also helps that you got a really good voice actor in Reno Romano, who really does a great job playing this young Bruce Wayne in general, making it his own character. This is the lone feature outing for that character, the Batman vs. Dracula, where Gotham City is not only terrorized by recent escapees Joker and Penguin, played by Kevin Michael Richardson and Tom Kenny, but by the original creature of the night, Dracula. Can Batman stop the ruthless vampire before he turns everyone into the city, including the Caped Crusader, Joker, and Penguin, into his mindless minions? And this is not the first time these two have met up. There's been many comic books where they've met up before. There's actually been movies where Batman fought Dracula. However, those ones were not authorized by DC Comics. But this is the first time in animated form where you have the two coming together to duke it out. And for the most part, it's rewarding as you get to see the Dark Knight and the Prince of Darkness go at it. I mean, the animation is good, but nothing that really stands out compared to the television series in general. The story works okay. I think the action sequences between Batman and Dracula can work nicely well. The way Dracula is able to walk on the sunlight, though, is definitely pretty weak. And even the final blow to how Dracula is defeated is kind of pretty lame. I mean, you expect much more for a battle between the Batman and Dracula to end that way. It's hard to make Dracula seem lame, but by doing that, the creators of the movie certainly don't really seem like they were giving a crap of what they were trying to do here. There's a great hook to this movie. The fight itself is definitely worth it, but you have to sit through some pretty lame voiceover works. Like, as much as I love Kevin Michael Richardson and Tom Kenny, I don't think they're the best Joker or Penguin yet, and they're really not. The animation doesn't help not much either. But I think Romano's Batman and Peter Stormare's Dracula. Why did I flip you guys off? I don't know why I was doing that. That was not intentional. I don't know why my finger was doing that. But anyway, like I was saying before that, still Romano's Batman and Peter Stormare's Dracula are great, and the story works well enough overall. It's just a mixed bag movie. Not a particularly good movie, but not one I would say is one of the worst DC animated films I've ever seen. It's just kind of in the middle. I give it a pass because you really expect a lot more for a movie where Batman fights Dracula. And while the action can be good at times, it's not enough for me to fully recommend the movie. So, overall, mixed opinion on that one. So let's go ahead and move on to our last film that we have here, and that is Kronk's New Groove.
What does a guy in Hollywood get when he's big on biceps and small on brain cells?
No, that's not it.
His own movie. Kronk's New Groove. All new, all groove. Mostly Kronk.
Hey, Bucky. A squeaky squeak.
An all-new motion picture coming to Disney DVD this December.
There is no I in team. There's a me in mediocre.
There is also an I in shit, and yeah, this movie is pretty shit. I mean, a movie where the breakout star of The Emperor's New Groove, Patrick Warburton's Kronk, should be much more interesting and much more engaging than anything in this particular movie. So in Kronk's New Groove, the storyline of this movie is simply this. Kronk desperately wants to try to find ways to impress his dad, played by John Mahoney, who he can never please. But when things go wrong, Kronk kicks into comical gear and discovers the true riches in life are his friends and being true to your groove. That's it. That's literally the plot of the movie. The Emperor's New Groove felt like a funny and overall enjoyable film, but this just feels like a lifeless, pointless movie compared to the first film. I mean, it's not Mulan too bad, but it might as well be Mulan too bad. The other overall stories they tell in this, it really does feel like an Atlantis 2 or a Tarzan and Jane, where they took an unaired pilot for a planned television series and advertised it as a movie. Which is funny because there was actually a television series that came out around that time that was actually a whole lot better than this. I'll delve into that in just a second, but the humor in here is a major step down compared to the original film. You know, the original film had the Looney Tunes-esque Bing Bang style humor, and they never have any good payoffs to any of the jokes in this movie. I mean, really, what's funny about Yzma returning to her old form, but just giving her a tail instead of just having her be a cat, like she was at the end of the original film? Even the voice actors in here aren't wasted here. You got most of the main cast back in this movie. You got David Spade, John Goodman, Patrick Warburton, Eartha Kitt. You know, they add John Mahoney and Tracy Ullman to the cast, and they have nothing to do except pad out a 72-minute movie to sell the kids. Like, David Spade in particular is completely pointless here as Cusco, because he's basically just in the film to say, hey, I'm in the movie too, bye. That's pretty much all he does in here. And like I said, if you want a better continuation of the story, The Emperor's New Groove, just watch The Emperor's New School, which was the spin-off TV series that came out around this time that is so much better. It's set up entirely in a different continuity than Kronk's New Groove, and actually realizes that, hey, the original film was funny, so let's take a lot of what made that first film fun and put it in this television series. And it's a much more enjoyable show than anything that came out of this movie. This is the typical example of a bad Disney-directed video sequel. Pointless, lifeless, not anywhere close to the original film. That's greatness. And this is definitely one you want to skip on. It's a major disappointment considering that the movie is based off one of the most memorable characters from the most memorable character from The Emperor's New Groove, and this is the best they could do with it. Just shameful. Shameful indeed.